Ultimately, we want to come up with a really good graph of g of x equals 2x plus 1 over x minus 5. So our first step is to identify where the 0 is. And for a rational function, that's going to happen when the numerator is equal to 0. So we just solve this. We get that x is negative 1/2, which means our 0 is negative 1/2. Next, we want to identify the domain. That's going to happen when the denominator is equal to 0, because with a rational function, we want to make sure that the denominator does not equal 0. So our domain is that x cannot equal 5. That tells us where our vertical asymptote is going to be, and it's going to be the vertical line x equals 5. In part C, we want to find what the limit of the fraction is as x approaches infinity. And since x is getting very, very large, the only thing that's important, again, is those leading terms in the numerator and the denominator. So this limit is going to be the same as finding the limit as x approaches infinity of 2x over x. Well, of course, those will cancel, and that'll be the same as the limit as x approaches infinity of 2, which is 2. So the limit as x approaches infinity of 2x plus 1 over x minus 5 is going to be 2. Why that's important is that it gives us where our horizontal asymptote is going to be. That's going to be the horizontal line, y is equal to 2. Now, with all this important information, we can go ahead and graph it. First of all, we have our 0 is at negative 1/2. So that's going to be our x-intercept. And then we have a vertical asymptote at x equals 5. Take my ruler over here to x equals 5 and draw our vertical asymptote. And we also have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 2. So that'd be up above the x-axis. Then finally, to get a good graph, we're going to need to take a look at a sign chart for g of x. So g of x was 2x plus 1 over x minus 5. And if we were to start on the interval to the left, pick something that's extraordinarily negative, negative a billion, well, multiply that by 2 and add 1. That means our numerator will be negative. Negative a billion minus 5, also negative. So this entire fraction, negative divided by negative, will be positive. If we pick a number in between negative 1/2 and 5, like 0, and plug that in, we'll get 0 plus 1, which is positive, and 0 minus 5 is still negative. So the entire fraction is negative. And then lastly, pick a number greater than 5, like a million. 2 million plus 1 is positive, and a million minus 5 also positive, so this entire fraction will be positive. Now we're ready to come up with the graph. On our first interval, we have to get closer to that asymptote. And as we pass through this x-intercept, now we're going to want to get closer to that vertical asymptote. On the right interval, we have to stay positive, so above the x-axis, but also that's going to mean above our horizontal asymptote, because we'll need to reach that vertical asymptote as well. And there's a graph of g of x.